Wave Radio.
Missy and I are talking about love changes everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Welcome to another episode of On Finding Peace. And this is the podcast where Missy and I talk about the everyday tasks that we can do to find our inner peace, to live a life of happiness based on changing some of our behaviors and thoughts. And today we're talking about love and how love changes everything. So how you doing, Missy? I see for those on video, I see you're back indoors. Has it
It's
heated
hot.
up down in the south or
It's hot. Yeah, it's hot out there. I woke up outside this morning to take the dogs out, and I was already sweating. So I was like, nope, we're not going to be outside today. We're just going to sit inside at the table. How about you? It looks like you're outside enjoying the weather.
I'm outside. I don't know where the sun went. It is totally foggy and cloudy, which has a nice aura about itself. But no, I'm in the 60s, so yeah, I'm quite comfortable
I'm
actually.
so jealous right now. You have no idea. You walk outside and everything sweats. It's like, okay. And they have winter jackets on the shelves. And I'm like, for what? It doesn't even get cold until January. So we're 3 months ahead of schedule, but that's okay.
Well, it's again goes all back to perspective. Way back when I taught high school down in Florida, and it amazed me coming from the north. And I'm from cold country, border of Canada and the U.S. And yeah, it would get into the 60s, and my students would come in with the heaviest of winter coats, drinking their hot chocolate,
Yeah.
and I'd have the AC on in the classroom because
Yeah.
it's 60s. I was warm. I
Yeah.
what can I say?
And we walk in looking
Um,
like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
yeah, and they're like begging me to turn the heat on because it's just so cold outside.
Right,
I'm like 60s. This is like the height of my summer. I mean, what are
right.
you all talking about? So gotta love perspective.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know, like I just think that we got to talking beforehand, and we were talking about, all kinds of things to catch up a little bit before. But like the thought about love and what really is love and how it changes things, I think that is it's all, again, like you said, it's about perception. But it's not about like a man loving a woman, or a female loving a female. It doesn't matter what sex you're talking about. It's not about people loving people. To me, it's about what we all are, the extension of that life force energy inside of us, and extending it to another human being, or to understand that we're all the same as a result of that. And how when you look at people with those eyes, it doesn't matter what they do, what they look like, their behaviors, their actions, like it just changes the way that you look at them and your situation together.
I would agree that if we can look at another person through the lens or that perspective
Mm,
of, can I love this person in that wide or broader sense of what you were saying? We're not talking about um, the love of the intimacy of relationship, but this
right.
broader sense that if I see another human in the sense of the love, that would change the way that I would view that person. and probably change the way that I would want to interact with that person.
It's funny because I've been in situations lately where, you can tell when things trigger you, right? And when they no longer trigger you, you become responsive in a different way, right? And so there was something that was in my space that was triggering me, and then all of a sudden when I began to just go like, you know what, they are where they are, I am where I am, we're all walking it
Hmm.
out, and we're all figuring it all out to come to that self-realization. And when I changed my perspective about the interaction that I was having, I became curious instead of, not like what's wrong with them. It was not like that by any means, but it was more
Right.
like, you know, how can we shift this conversation to become something that we're both enjoying, that we're both wanting to explore? And it was more of a curiosity, and it became a very enjoyable and open conversation, rather than me putting up the wall of like, I do not want to have this conversation with you, I don't want to enjoy, this is not fun for me. When I was just that open space to let my life force work through, or I call
Hmm.
it God or universe or spirit, whatever you want to call it. But when you're that open channel, it is so different. Than you realize that you are just kind of letting that extension of love flow through you, and it gets to be landing on the person or whoever you're having that experience with. And that's really like, to me, that's letting your light shine, right? Like, as we would all, we've all
Right.
heard that saying before. But it's love. Like, that's the love. It's like, it's not just, doing kind things and being kind constantly. It's embodying that that's what we each are, no matter where we are, no matter if we're drug addicts, excuse me, we're having thievery conversations, like, whatever it is. You can be the best of the best, whoever the holiest saint is of the world, or you could be what most of society might consider like the bottom of the barrel, and you're still God walking it out. Like, you're still on this planet to be here to teach other people, to learn from other people, and to heal the soul and expand on the consciousness, excuse me. And when we look at things in that way, which can be challenging, but
Hmm.
if you say it is, then it is, you know? So when you recognize that it can be easy, and you just learn to love each other that way all the time, things just are way more peaceful.
And one of the things I was thinking as you were talking about all of that, especially on the spiritual side of love, and is that love is very freeing,
Mm,
that it allows us to be free of a lot of negativity.
yeah.
When you think about, some of the things that are bothering you throughout the day, and in many cases, what bothers us throughout the day are interactions that we've had with people.
Yeah.
And it's usually interactions we're having with people we don't know. And it takes away our happiness and our inner peace because within those interactions, we place a lot of judgment and objectivity on individuals and then talk about how they in some way wronged us, and therefore we have now this conflict between us and the stranger.
Yeah.
However that plays out, whether that's somebody cut you off and as you were driving, or whatever it may be, versus if we can see that person as a fellow human who is journeying through their day as I am, that can change things and add more of a subjectivity where maybe I can understand that they cut me off because they weren't thinking and it wasn't personal, or they truly are in a hurry. I mean, maybe there is an emergency somewhere that I'm not aware of, and they're really trying to get there. But if I can begin to understand that out of love, the conflict goes away. And if
Mm,
the conflict goes away, then I'm back at
Neutral.
feeling peace and happiness
Yeah.
and who I am.
Well, and the truth is, we don't know. We don't know. I don't know what you're going through. You don't know what I'm going through, what's happening mentally for me, the person that cut us off in traffic. We don't know. And the thing that I feel like is the truth here is that love doesn't make up that it does know, right? The ego makes up that it knows. And so, then we project all the things onto this other person, which basically is what's telling us what we have to heal in our own selves, and so really what it is they're showing us information. They're just giving us information so that we understand what's going on. That's where they say 90% of it is subconscious, right? And 10% of it is conscious. So if you have the subconscious constantly showing you through your interactions and experiences with other people, then you have the ability to pay attention, get the information, understand that not only do you not want to do that again, right? You don't want to be a thief or be somebody who's a not nice person, right? If you're seeing that in your experience, but you also have the ability to go, okay, I've done that. No matter what it is that you've seen, you've done it because I'm you and you're me. And that's just the way that I believe, right? And so if we are holding guilt, then that's what we're doing, is projecting it onto those other people. And we realize that there's forgiveness work that needs to be done. And it's like, really, what do you do for forgiveness? It's not like, stand in the mirror and you say, hey, I forgive you, don't do that again, kind of thing. It's like getting to the root of remembering who you really are. It's the I am, right? That we've all heard it before. The I am is the most two important words you can say. But what we're doing is we're saying, I'm not. And this is not my saying. I have to say that I heard this last night at a course that I was at, A Course in Miracles and Circles of Light with Dr. Carolyn Aziz Fuqua. And she just put it so eloquently, like, whatever it is that you think is true, you will be right, And so you either think that you are I am, or you think that you are I am not. And if you think that you are I am not, whether it comes to love or scarcity or abundance, joy, happiness, it's all those things. She says, disprove whatever you think is something that's holding you back. Just find a way to disprove it. And we had a young man stand up and say, just as an example, what if you think that every rich person's lucky? And she brought up, she's like, that's not true. That's totally not true. But you look at somebody that's rich that, that has suffered mental health illness, right? Like Howard Hughes, right? I think is who she uses as an example. Or Elvis, when, he was ended up addicted to drugs. And of course these kids were young, and they were like, I don't know who those people are. I was just like, tell them Britney Spears, like they'll know who that is. They know who that is, or, like everybody goes through things, and luck is really a perception, right? But, like if you have something like that, that's, I've heard the saying, some people say like, rich people are not nice, or rich people are, they just steal and, whatever. And it's like, no, that's not always true. They just feel abundant, and it doesn't have anything to do with money half of the time. Money is just the thing that we all think that we want, but it could be jewels, it could be love, it could be, I like trees or flowers, like who knows? It can be an abundance of anything. And if you focus on that abundance, in that form, rather than a currency form or the cold hard, coins and paper money that we use, then you'll have abundance everywhere in your life, and I know this is not a talk about abundance, but really, like, that's really what love is as well. Love is the abundance of, I am enough, I am perfect, I am whole, I am complete, there's nothing broken, but we focus on the I am, not the I am not, So I believe once upon a time I was trying to give up control, right? Like, oh, please let me not be in control anymore. Please let me just listen to you. Instead of saying, let me lean into your will. Let me be an open conduit for your services, for whatever you need, right? I was trying to give up control, which of course led me to have more experiences where I was still controlling, not to where I was just being that open space for things to happen, so
Well, the fact of you trying to control, not controlling
yeah,
is
pretty controlling,
controlling.
right? Yeah, I can
Um,
honestly admit a type A, recovery here.
yeah, and you're not the only one, of course, but
Mhm.
um, yeah, that I think really, when we look at love as abundance, that becomes what can be the end all. I mean, when people are looking for, well, I'll know when I've reached my pinnacle. I know when I've reached my
Yeah,
success, or,
right.
um, but you're right. It's all about well, when I get X amount of money, or when I can have so much in the savings, I retire, I've reached my, instead of wondering what is that abundance when we look at love of self and others.
Mm,
And for me, that's goes back to the mindfulness and the living in the moment, that in every moment that we exist, we can have abundance. But as you say, it's how we define what that abundance is that makes us happy.
right.
And in the past, I've written about, success in terms of redefining success.
Mm,
That success is not necessarily the power, the title, the money,
yeah.
but there's a lot more to it if we want to reframe the perspective and talk about success, in the terms of how have I been able to make a difference in the world and in myself and the people around me, and look at that as success. And when we're talking about love, that's got nothing to do with how much money you have. I mean, you could be the poorest of the poor and still be able to give love to somebody else.
Well, and you're only giving of what you are, right? You
Yeah,
already are that. So it's not like you have to go seek it out to find it exterior. It's inside of you. And it is something that you have to undo, okay, all of the things that you have thought before that were love, right? Like I have to be in a relationship, or my mom doesn't treat me the way my dad doesn't, my siblings are not, whatever. And like, trust me, I can speak to that. Like, I have a great relationship with my parents, and I have a great love in my life as well, but
hmm,
he adds to my already love, right? And I
yep,
extend my love, and he extends his love. But for a long time I've struggled sibling wise, and I thought, what is wrong with me? Like, why can't I have that closeness that I would
hmm,
love to have? And where we could just pick up the phone and just and I started to recognize I do have it. Like, it was just some mystical idea I made up that it should be different than it
yep,
was. And it's not, it's just beautiful, it's perfect, like just the way it has always been. And it's not changed. The thing is, my thoughts have changed about it. And so, like, even though I have been through things with my siblings, whether it be arguments or whatever it is, there's nothing in the world that could change the way that I feel for them and about them, and what I extend to them as a result of the thoughts that I think, and
right,
like, really, like, you can or you can't, it's up to you, whether and it's really, love is not a feeling. I saw this meme, love is not a feeling, it's a decision. And
hmm,
I love that, because it's like, really does say whether I am or I am not, right? And the more that you choose the I am, again, if I've used the saying before, if you go to the gym and you're only working out your right muscle, right? And this is my right arm, I'm just letting you know. It might be mirrored on your side. But you're going to have one big muscle, right? And your other muscle is going to be very small. And it's, if you're not working it out. So as soon as you start to flex that muscle and work that muscle out, then it's going to get stronger and you'll deplete the other muscle, right? And
hmm,
so So that's it. It's muscle memory, and you'll remember. It's not about like you've
Yep.
never done it before and I don't know how. You will remember because you came into this world knowing what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think anyone is born in anything but love. Like that's all a child knows as it is first born.
Yeah.
And it's the people around the child, it's the environment of the child in the larger sense that begins to impact those decisions that the child is going to make as that child ages. So I really like, when you were saying that love is not a feeling, but a decision. And for those on video, there is a wonderful dog who has just appeared. Probably wants to join in on the love conversation,
Yeah.
but
She's showing me some love.
he knew what we were talking about.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of this. But yeah, but that's where I really like that saying, that love is not a feeling but a decision. That it really does come down to, what am I going to do given who I am, what I have, and what's going to lead me toward that happiness and inner peace.
Yeah.
And then it's either conflict or love.
Well, and something else that I know I've heard through, my studies this year have been, the opposite of fear is love. Right. And so like, think of all the things that we're scared about. We're scared about spending money because there's not enough, or we're
Hmm.
scared about whether somebody's going to leave, or like when you are loving and in a loving state, and you're just being that extension, there is nothing that can bring fear to you, right? There is nothing that can cause your mind to be at dis-ease, which then causes the disease within your body. And
Yep.
so, and we're not responsible for where other people are. We're not. But the intention is to touch more people, to give them that opportunity to see the possibility, to poke that one little bright light into their pinhole of darkness,
Hmm.
and just make it be known that there's other ways to look at things. And it's really up to you. Like,
Yeah.
the ego really wants to keep you in the darkness, in the seeking of the nothingness and finding nothing ever. And then you have everything that could ever exist on the opposite end of the pole. Everything. You have love and joy and peace and fun and playfulness. And that's what we're all striving for. That's what we're all looking for in this life. But we're trying to fill with sex and money and drugs and the things that aren't maybe I guess it's society's norm, right? Those things are society's norm. And so, like I want to flip the script. I want to bring
Hmm.
people a new opportunity. And I know you do as well. We want to open your eyes to seeing that there's another possibility of thinking, of living, and dispelling the myths that you've learned, whether they're learned behavior or thought up behavior, right?
Yep.
There's a way to dispel the things that you have, firm grips on, right? Because then if you have a firm grip on something, then you're closed off to
Hmm.
having a new possibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if we want to focus on my success as having things,
Right.
we can never have enough of those things.
Right.
So when society tells us all of the things that we must have or do, we're never going to have enough of those.
Right.
But
Yeah.
when you're talking about love, we can still say the same thing. You may never have enough of it, but there's always enough to go around.
Mm.
So in other words, we don't need to say, well, one person has more and I want more of theirs, and therefore I may need to find a way to take theirs,
Well, would you
which
not
harms somebody. So
would
we
you
we
not
don't have
consider
to
that
look at it from
egoic
that way.
love though?
Hmm?
I have to ask this question because what just came through was that sounds more like egoic love. If they're looking at somebody wishing they had more love, if you are love, which you are, then how could you not be enough of it?
Exactly.
You are all of it. Like, and I love that this is like, we all say we're drops in the ocean, right? You know, we're all
Hmm.
the same. We're one drop in the ocean, but you are the whole ocean in your one drop. Again, not my saying. That was Carolyn Aziz Fuqua. But oh my gosh, the brilliance in just that statement. Like, if you are
Yep.
the direct download of the divine, right? That life force energy, which you are in your body and I am in my body, that's the I am that I am. It's not the meat suit, right? And so
Hmm.
that means that I am that love. So I will never not have enough of that love unless
Yep.
I, in my thoughts, cut myself off from that.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what I was saying, because when we look at things
Mm,
to give us
yeah.
love, happiness, inner peace,
It's
yeah,
always
we
going to
we
be more,
could
better,
run
different.
out of them, or somebody has them more than we do, and
Yeah.
we want that, and
Yep.
or yeah, we look at love from the ego,
Mm,
and therefore take it. But if we look at love for what it is,
yeah.
then we have what we need right now,
Yeah.
and we work the love that we have, and we're not going to be needing for anything more.
Right. Well, and so that's something else that, you just brought up a beautiful point, is the only way you can experience love is right now, because
Yeah.
love doesn't know time or space, right? Love is just love, and it's right here in this moment, which is new now and new now and new now. Like, it's each
Hmm.
moment. And as long as you're staying with that moment, if you're thinking about the past or replaying things in your head from work earlier this week, or you're anxious about the future and whatever else is going on, that could potentially go on, then you're living in anxiety and fear. And the only way to solve, again, is love, which is right here and right now.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I'm always reminded that in the Judeo-Christian Bible and in the Old Testament, when God is asked, what is your name? What should I call you?
Mm,
And God's response is, I am.
yes.
And that whole thing of I take that for the mindfulness piece. That whole thing of I am means in the present moment.
Mm, I love
So as, the God of our understanding, we can say lives in this present moment, then yes, that's why we have anxiety about the past and the future,
mm,
because we're living outside of that spiritual sense, because the spiritual is all about love and all about now.
yeah.
I am.
Yeah. That's gorgeous. I love that. That was beautiful. So I'm just curious of what, how do you ask somebody to put this in play?
I think we need to have all of us, and I include myself whenever I say all of us,
Mm,
my the logic of my mind first says we each need to define what we mean by love for ourselves, and then the emotional side says just give of the love that you have, because love isn't something that we're supposed to be storing up.
right.
Again, let's take it away from the goods, so we can store up, our money and our gold and whatever. We can store
Right.
those things up and then say, look at my success because I stored up all of this stuff.
Mhm.
Love isn't something you store up. That's something that you give away.
Yeah. Well, and giving is receiving at the same time.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, everybody knows that, oh God, I love to give. Like a lot of us know anyway, that they love to give, right?
Hmm.
But it's not it's not for the fact that you'll get it back, right? Because you will.
Nope.
It's always going to come back more. Whatever you're giving out is going to come back more to you. But it's the reward. Like it's the joy on somebody else's face to see that, you've cared enough, whether it's
Yep.
money or time or love or just an ear to lend, right? And maybe that could be the listener challenge. What can you give that doesn't cost any money, that you will never run out of, right? That's love. And so how would you choose to do that? Like that would be my challenge to you, is think about how you choose to do that. Whether it's, giving back to your community, being a big brother, big sister, listening to a friend, going to take care of an adult elderly relative, or just giving of your time to listen to a story of somebody who's homeless on, asking for money.
Exactly.
Like hanging out with them, who knows what that could look like. And, you'll see that like our initial thoughts or judgments about others really is always about us. Right.
Yeah. Definitely.
And so the more that you spend time with people dispelling those myths, right, dispelling those judgments, the freer you will be to love, and you'll see so much change for yourself.
Exactly. And noticing that, yes, it's not the objective, but the reality, the more you give out of love, the more you will receive in the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Let's
I
do
love
it.
it.
I'm there.
That is the perfect listener challenge for this.
Yeah.
And so for all of you listeners, you have been challenged, and place it down in the comments of whatever platform you're listening on right now, and or go to our social media, which all our websites are linked below. So I like it. I'd love to hear what people can do with this.
Yeah. And
Awesome.
don't forget, we love you. Thank you for listening.
Exactly.
All right. Have a great day, Chris.
You too.
All right.